but I don't know if we've, again, I want to go back to what Ed has said, so.
My thing is, if it does come back at over $50,000, then I think you've got to go back to square one, don't you? You can't say, okay, we like what this guy is saying, we're going to go ahead and accept it, even though we didn't really
Say we were going to do that.
have a resolution saying we're going to do that.
But like with the lawn service contract, we put it out for bid.
Right.
And the bids come back.
Right.
We select a vendor.
Right.
And then we go through the resolution process to approve the bid. But at least we have basically given everybody an opportunity to bid on the RFP.
But that's not over 50,000.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It has
Oh,
been
the
in
what?
past.
Oh, I'm thinking of lawn, not trash.
Normally prepare a resolution saying to go out for bid for the lawn service contract or the street contracts.
Well, again, I think we might be getting confused on what the rules are. The rules, I thought, was anything in excess of $50,000, you need a resolution on, a contractual arrangement.
Right.
To do the bids, I don't know that you have to have a resolution to do that. I mean, we could do it, just to put belt and suspenders on it if you want to.
Sorry to talk over Johnny and I talked about that today. I think as long as you send it out for public bid, you have the at least 2 weeks, not more than 4 weeks for the notice, I think
Right.
you can't go ahead and send it right now. If you hire somebody that's over 50 grand, then we'll need a resolution to say, hey, we're gonna hire this particular company. I think that'll streamline the process.
Yeah, because I don't think we've done resolutions just to put it out to bid in the past.
I don't think we have either, but Tony suggested to me that today that maybe we had. Frankly, I just couldn't remember.
Actually, I think Chris Earl kind of weighed in on that too, so that's where a little of this confusion came from, as to whether or not we had to have a resolution to actually put it out.
Yeah.
To place the ads.
But just like the lawn care, I don't think we put a resolution to put it out to bid, did we? Because that came out of Public Works, and I don't think you did that for that.
No, we did it
And that was more than
after
$50,000.
we
That's more than
awarded it.
Yeah,
$50,000.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Of what? No, the lawn care was 46. So it came in under 50. Yeah, yeah.
Again, I don't care. If you think it's a better process to do it at this point, I mean, I think that's actually been shared already, that RFP. So the cat's out of the bag to some extent.
Not only that, but it got confusing because for the RFP, did we need a resolution, but for a pool manager, we really wouldn't.
Here's what I've always said, yes, is transparency is so very important, and I think what we're doing here with the RFP, even though we may not necessarily have a resolution saying they go out for an RFP, I think we're okay to get it out right now. But as Joe says, if we select a company that's gonna be over $50,000, then we'll prepare a resolution saying we're gonna hire that company to do it.
I would classify where we're at right now as information gathering, because we have no idea what those bids are going to come back at. And if, we need that piece of information to figure out where we're going, and we also need to figure out is whether there's a viable candidate out there for the pool manager position. That's going to be a little bit of trouble trying to find somebody, A, that's qualified, and B, that's, willing to take that job, especially for, you got to find somebody who has their summers off.
Like a teacher.
But again, the teachers at this point, that old business model about using a teacher for the pool doesn't happen anymore. A lot of them aren't willing to do it. So,
And it doesn't, we don't want to.
not willing to do it. But the second part of it too is being qualified. Being able to hire the lifeguards, being able to train the lifeguards. You get into that issue as you go on. So, again, this is about information gathering. No decisions are made about which path to go down. But we're trying to do this on a faster time frame. And the RFP that got put together, we basically had RFPs that probably 6 different communities had issued already, which we used as a template. Have you all seen the RFP? Have you seen it?
I have, yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty all encompassing.
Yeah, I mean, it was very well done. And it was tailored for the Mariemont pool. So, it's, I think we're in pretty good shape at this point.
I agree. Well, let's put it out tomorrow.
It's fine by me because it works in the timeline. We are on sort of a bit of a timeline here, and this would be better, so,
We want
yes.
to get something done by, say, February, contract.
We're trying to get this done before the holidays.
Yeah, they really want to get this done.
By the holidays?
Yeah, no, it was talked at one point, why wait? If you get into next year, it'll drag into February and March, and you really want this thing set up to be able to plan and be able to do it, start the first of the year on it. But that's kind of where the timeline came about trying to get this done before the holidays.
Oh, it's customary those companies like that commitment because they have to find resources.
They do,
Right.
yeah,
So-
yeah. They would like it sooner rather than later.
Right.
Yeah. All right. We'll do it.
All right, and then a couple things. I did share the pool operations financial analysis that, we kind of put together, looking at the numbers over a historical basis. And then there was one question that has been going on for probably the last month about the $125,000 that we allocated out of the permanent improvement fund for capital improvements at the pool. What we've been caught up in is a little bit of a classification issue, that as monies were spent down there, some of those capital improvements went to the general fund and not to the permanent improvement fund. And that's why I put the little box on the outside of this, I updated and sent it this time, which shows that we have basically stayed within budget for the pool for 2021 with all the work that's been done down there, and have a little bit of excess at this point, but there's a couple real unknowns we're trying to deal with. One is the leak detection and repairs. And Bill, I think you sent me a text that you got an update on that we found.
I was down there the other morning when we had Shamrock, of course, back down there, and we had the guys with the cameras, shooting the pipes. And it's looking like the leak repair down there could be extensive. Now, we don't have a fixed estimate yet because we haven't read the footage that they shot, of the drain. But the general consensus down there was it doesn't look good. We're talking about the drain from the lap pool to that manhole air break, before the line goes on down to the pump room. So.
Well, because, the notes you hear, it's up to 9 potential leaks.
Oh, no, not in that pipe. Some of the other leaks are minor leaks in little welds in the main pool, and those are easily fixed.
Okay.
And some of them, where the steel liner joins the concrete floor kind of a thing, those are somewhat easily fixed. Inside these drain pipes, that's a whole different ballgame to fix.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to line those drain pipes or what you're going to have to dig to get to them.
You might.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, we've already incurred some costs there with
Yes.
Shamrock during the last
Yes.
7-8 weeks as we've been kind of going through this process.
Right.
So that's a big open item on this schedule about, are we going to stay within budget or not? As of right now, we're okay. We're within the budget, even though we'll have to figure out how to move it between funds. I mean, probably what will happen at the end of the year, we'll have extra money in the permanent improvement fund to spend next year. But, the numbers are there as far as what, we've spent at the pool this year, but there's a couple unknowns there. So if anybody has any questions on the numbers, I tried to put this together, gathering as much information. I think, Tony, you looked at it, and you're comfortable that I've kind of got this stuff laid out in the right cells and the right amounts. But again, we have been spending money on the water. There's no doubt as you look at the numbers over the years.
question.
So fixing the leaks, and I am very concerned about the leaks, is that it's not only the water that we're wasting every year, at probably $5,000 to $7,000 a year, it's the damage that is going behind.
So where's the water going?
Exactly.
Nobody knows where the
And
water
it could be
goes.
undermining
Yeah,
the integrity of the pools.
right.
So it's something that has to be fixed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So any-
As soon as I get numbers, of course, I'll share with everybody.
Yep. Thanks, hey, Joe, thanks for the budget reconciliation, too. That's really helpful to see in that, so.
All right, we kind of skipped over Randy there. Randy, you want to go ahead and tell us about the town crier surveys?
Yeah, well, this is an idea, I think we kind of talked about this a couple of meetings ago. I did talk to Susie Wineland, the editor, she's all for this. As you know, that we changed, we used to publish council minutes in the town crier, and again, that goes back to when they weren't available anywhere else. So we suspended that in their space, and we've done some things a little bit differently. One of the things we're thinking about doing, and we'd like to do, is surveys. And this is where we'd set up a bogus email account that I guess would mirror the info. It would merge with that. So where we could ask questions a question, poll, whatever it might be. Not every issue, but we could do it certainly every issue.
Sure.
We would put a disclaimer that said that this is not a monitored email address, so if you have a question or whatever, contact the mayor, your council member, or a council member. And then we'd have to manage how the input from the residents is managed once we get it. But I had a couple suggestions of some questions we could ask. One of them was the idea of no parking on specific streets for leaf collection, we could still do that. When I talked to Susie, she said if I get this back to her tonight, she could put it in November.
No, that'd be
So
nice, yeah, okay,
It
that'd be
could come
good.
out in a week.
Yeah.
So I just came up with Mindful Mariemont as a name. I'm sure we could do better than that, but.
For a start, it's a start.
And then, you know, the email address could be any, just about anything that we want. And I had some examples there, so I guess I'd like to move forward with this, and I'd like your approval to do it. I'd like to do it in November, and I'd like to probably start with the leaf collection, because the other one was at the pool, and that's a bit premature to probably talk about that.
So it would come out November 10th, I think or the deadline's the 10th, so it will come
No,
out.
then it was October 10th was the deadline.
Right, that's right, for the following issue.
So it's it's the first weekend in November.
Okay.
No parking on your street for up to a week.
So I have one suggestion, Randy,
Sure.
just to consider. I used to write surveys for a living, and typically, like a yes or no isn't going to give you, so you might want to be on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, how likely would you be to agree? Just so you kind of get a feeling for
You're like,
what's out there. That's my 2 cents worth.
How would we manage that? If, let's say, people came back and said, yeah, let's, no parking on the street for the week. Like, they come every week, but we don't know when. Like, how would you, if they,
Well, this is just to kind of get a feel for if folks are open about it or not.
Okay.
You know, clearly, John would need to implement and do all of this, and there'd be quite a bit of coordination on his part. But he sat here and said the reason leaf pickup is a disaster is because we have to go around cars. So if people are willing to not park, that would expedite that process, and I think overall people would be happier in the long run.
So,
But I think where Avi's heading though too, I agree with that, is that, you know, what would be really helpful would be if John could say what streets on what days
Oh,
of
I
the
think we'll
week.
get to that.
yeah, because I think you'd have to. Could you,
Yeah,
they
you
come every
could.
week, so that if you say you can't park for the week, then
Ever.
you can't ever
Anywhere
park on
in
the
the
street
whole
ever
village.
from October through November. So I just was curious, just the management piece, but I get it. I get that. Makes sense.
so what I'm saying here is I think you're looking for feedback
Sure.
at the end of the day. So to sit there and ask, one sentence or two sentence question like that, some of these issues, especially like the pool memberships, opening it up to people on the outside, is a little more complex as far as what the items you should consider when you make that decision one way or the other. So like on this leaf pickup, yeah, I think part of the problem is that, this parking issue that we have. But the other problem we probably have is the residents don't really know when people are coming by to pick up their leaves. So I don't know if you lead these questions in with a paragraph kind of explaining what the issues we have right now, including, potentially asking them, would you like to know when your leaves are going to be picked up?
I think we already know.
Well, yeah, we know we want that.
But-
Yeah.
But there's been a pushback that, no, we can't commit to those days.
Right.
But I would say that if we did no parking on the streets, John could get to those streets.
But
We'd have to
the
coordinate.
question you're asking here, Randy, is for people not to park on a week because, they don't know when they're going to show up. Why can't they be told, don't park there this day because we're coming that day to pick up the leaves?
Yeah, we've asked John to try and start to do that, right? I think though you make a really good point, Joe, about like maybe outlining a little bit of the issue, because someone might read this and they don't understand that it takes longer. The reason my leaf pickup takes longer is because they have to go around the cars. So maybe just explaining a little bit of
More
the brief,
context.
more
Right,
context,
a little
and then the
back,
question.
yeah, a little backstory to why you're asking the question.
Especially if you're going to ask an open-ended question,
Right.
not a yes/no.
Yeah.
Give them at least the background to be able to make,
Yeah.
I don't
salient
know that we could say for
comments.
up to a week, but on here, I don't know. that
Maybe
people-
just say a couple days.
Yeah.
Or, because you don't want to just make it one day, because, like John says, I would like us to see, to be able to have some kind of commitment to a time frame. But if you just do one day and it storms, or one of the temporary guys calls in,
That's part of the
things can
problem.
change in a
We're trying to narrow
heartbeat.
it down to one specific day,
Right,
something
you
something
can't-
will
yeah.
arise, they can't get to it that day, and then if they forecast out several days on several streets, then that whole schedule's gummed up.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
And you-
but yes, I know there's a way where it could be narrowed down somewhat
not-
more
right.
tightly, yeah.
And then then the police have to go and put no parking signs on the streets? So
Well,
people
I-
know not to park?
I would
Yeah,
assume so,
that's-
or something like that, yeah.
I mean, it is just,
Or I
you
mean,
know,
if we just
couple
say
months.
north of the Pike,
Yeah.
the beginning of the week, south of the
Month and a
Pike, the
half.
second part of the week. I don't know, just anything to narrow it down somewhat. I mean,
Somewhat.
I get it, you can't pinpoint it to a day, I mean, because you're just shooting yourself in the foot by doing that, but
Yeah.
a little more closer parameters would be nice.
So, but stepping back, I mean, it sounds like everyone's supportive of what Randy's
Oh,
proposing.
yeah. We got in the
Now,
details.
we're getting into more like the
Yeah.
details, but I mean, stepping back, I think what I'm hearing is everyone's like, yeah, let's do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
But conceptually, yeah.
Now, it's just
Conceptually,
the
it's
execution on this
simply
very first
stunning.
one is the question.
Yeah, and so, and these would be things, though, that you would work with council before it would ever go
Sure,
in.
Sure. And it could be, you know, a number, it could be just about anything. And I think that, I was surprised, so that Centennial Committee, you know, and I thought that you could do these in the email blast as well.
We could.
The same
Sure.
thing. Because when we did the Centennial Committee, I think there were 10 that responded to the email.
Right.
And like
Yeah,
2
right off. Mhm.
that responded to the news, the town crier, so it was interesting that people, and it's probably a more engaged populace that have opted into those, so,
I have an idea.
okay.
You don't get your leaves picked up if you're not subscribed to get the emails.
So are we giving Randy, though Randy wants to try and get this in the town crier for this coming November, right? So are we
Yeah.
okay with him doing something around this with the Leafs? I mean,
Yeah.
I think
am.
it's just a little bit context, and then,
No, he said that, he talked to Susie, and Susie said if he gets it to her tonight, she can
Oh,
include it.
Okay, so,
So let's not make Randy do this at midnight.
we'll be writing it down as we're sitting.
He's,
I'm taking copious notes here.
As long as they're copious.
All right,
Can I
so what
ask one
about, what about the
question?
name? Any,
I like the I love Mariemont at mariemont.org.
Yeah, or here's an idea. I like here's an idea too.
Either-
I think the other two are a little,
I mean, we don't want to give them too much hope that we're going to listen.
yeah. How about like, what?
Yeah, I like the, I love Mariemont, I think. that's-
What? Here's an idea. What? Yeah, I love Mariemont.
well, there's other ones that I thought of that I didn't put on here.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think that's
Right.
good. What, can I just ask another question about just the more specifics of this leaf one? Like, you know, there are probably, depending upon where you live in the village, more people apt to say yes on the streets that don't have the parking issues comparative to some of the streets that do have the parking issues. I mean, so what comes back if this is an overall like positive, but it was, you know, the more minority of the citizens that have the issues, there's no weight there, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna impact,
Yeah, on streets,
Like-
on streets
like
with
Settle,
parking
for
issues,
example.
yeah, that's gonna be very sensitive,
More
Yeah.
so than like the
way
bluff.
more so.
yeah,
Yeah, they're gonna wanna know to the hour, to the minute,
yeah.
how long do they have to have that car off the street? Yeah,
I
But
just,
you think of Center and a lot of those, I mean, it could solve a lot of issues.
yeah, a lot of issues,
Just,
yeah, because they're working around that, true.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
All right. Y'all see the letter from Kellogg's, the worker adjustment retaining notification, which is a fancy way to basically tell us what they're going to be doing with the layoffs down there. Essentially, this is partially good news, because as I read it, it sort of sounds as though they're talking about laying off 73 permanent employees. Now, the problem is that Joe drafted a bit of a response because we had talked with these people on the phone a couple of weeks prior, and they had sort of notified us that they'd already lost, I think I already told you guys this, they'd already lost maybe 100 people, you know, just through natural attrition, you know, guys seeking other work and so on and so forth, because the job market being what it is. So I would assume that it's that, they've lost that 100, they're not coming back, plus another 73, so let's just say it's maybe 173, 175.
Bill,
Now-
did you see your email today?
I did see the email today.
So there's
yes.
another 43 voluntary
Yeah, voluntary, they're
retirements, so
gonna
it's
go.
about a 216 number
Yeah.
overall.
We're still, though, a shade under that original 250 number that I think we'd heard, you know, way back in January, something like that. So what I would like to get from them is, because these numbers are jumping around, is what is the remaining employment down there going to be? You know, are we gonna, is it 300, is it 350? You know, out of what I think was originally about 550 or something. was the-
530.
Or 530. She's, Tracy Meow, she sort of left the door open that I'll either contact her or email her back to see if I can get that number. But it's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's not looking quite as bad as we originally thought.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, I need a little bit of good news that we can bring in here.
Yeah, take what we get.
All right, any other comments regarding any of these communications? We all good with it? All right, permission to address council. Anyone would like to address council this evening? Mr. Van Stone?
I'm Bob Vanstone, 4050 Lyda Woods Place. There's been a lot of discussion concerning spending and finances on the council. There should also be discussion of wasted expenditures. Based on the request at the last council meeting, the cost associated with the study and investigation of the fire department issues totaled $173,904. This includes the cost of Mr. Kramer, our consultant, the solicitor, along with village employees in the fire department, police department, and related administrative support. With a little bit of effort with the fire department, much of this could have been eliminated. When a candidate for council reelection publicly brags about saving the village over $155,000, he does not consider the additional expenses that have been incurred. In addition, he has stated in council that he saved $40,000 in the building department, which has not occurred and has not been documented. These two expenditures alone drop the savings and added expenses to a total of almost $214,000, which is $59,000 more than that reported savings. In addition, this and similar crusades have demoralized the employees of the village. The latest shoe to drop, has been discussed here already tonight, is the resignation of the pool supervisor. This was an unforced error and will result in potential issues with pool operations and spending significant amount of time and possibly money to right the ship. These kinds of divisive activities must stop.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? Bill?
Good evening. I'm Bill Kramer. I was honored to do your study for the fire department. I'm not officially on the agenda tonight. I think we're going to do that at a later time. But I'm very pleased to be here, and I'll be around afterwards if individually any council members would want to talk to me, get you up to date. I have met 3 or 4 times with fire chief, and we've discussed ways we can economize going down the line based on the model that was approved at your last meeting. So thank you again for the opportunity to serve this fine community.
Hey, and thanks for sticking with us. You know, I know some of this sort of going forward work that you're gonna, help consult with is generous on your part. I want to thank you for that.
Well,
And we'll have you back in here, I think, on the
Second?
22nd,
Yeah.
right? I'll be out of town for your next meeting, but
And
I'll be back to 22nd.
I'll have it on the agenda, and we can discuss any questions at greater length, regarding that final report.
Fine, okay.
Hey, Bill, you said that you had some suggestions of things we might be able to do to save money within the current structure, maintaining the current structure. Can you send that in advance? Can you email it to the Hall of Council in advance so people have a chance to read it and think about it?
I'd be happy to do that, sure.
That would be great. Just in advance of the 22nd, so everyone has a chance to look through that beforehand.
All right, thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks. Anybody else? No? No good? All right, let's pay some bills. Everybody looked over the bills? Questions regarding the bills?
Nope,
No?
nope, not here.
Hey, well, I just sort of related, no, just related. So, do we have an update, Joe, on like the Murray Path? How much more we have to spend and how that stands overall? And the reimbursements we've received yet from Hamilton
So
County?
the numbers that I shared, I don't know, 60 days ago are probably still valid.
Okay,
We're in the process of grading right now. We had a little bit of a rainstorm yesterday that caused a little bit of problems with some of the storm sewers. The key swing number right now is the amount of topsoil that has to come in. That was the item that's probably going to drive the number one way or the other. The good news is we haven't used that much topsoil, so we may be, again, those numbers in the past, and I can share this, I actually just updated the schedule
okay,
over the weekend, but we're still within the same range and probably won't need that supplementary amount that we talked about, the $15,000.
yeah,
That we'll be able to cover all the costs of the Murray Path through the private contributions, through the contributions from ODNR and the contributions from Columbia Township. So that should cover all the costs associated with the Murray Path, unless we run into some more problems here the next couple of weeks. We are going to put stakes and barriers up for the Flying Pig because, we
Yeah.
ran out of time. They're out there planting stuff probably this week, not only the trees, but probably the flower beds. And we know people like to line the marathon course, so we're going to try to keep them out of the recently planted stuff. We're probably not going to seed until next week, depending upon what happens with the weather. But as of right now, the numbers, and that's why I didn't share it with you, because the numbers are still
okay,
in line, but we still need to know what's going to happen with that topsoil number. And it sounds like now we're probably going to have to spend possibly $500 more to drop a couple of the storm sewers that aren't at the right height. So, but yeah, we're within what was anticipated on that schedule I shared, I don't know, 45, 60 days ago.
Yeah, hopefully not too much of the topsoil washed away over there.
I have a question regarding the Flying Pig. So what kind of barrier are we gonna use?
We're
Do
going to
we
use
know?
stakes with string in between them. It was the
Okay.
most cost effective. And I got an email out to the executive director of the Flying Pig to see if they're going to reimburse us for this cost. So we'll see where that gets
Yeah,
to.
actually, Joe, I talked to Matt Air about that today. We may not have to do as much of that as we anticipate, because I think the only planting that's gonna take place between now and the pig are the trees.
Right.
So we might just stake off the tree area.
We
There's
could
gonna be no
have
seed.
staked the whole area with rope for probably about $225 is what we worked out some numbers on.
Yeah, I
You know,
think
this-
it's all or nothing.
What's that?
Probably just as easy.
Yeah, I
Well,
think it is.
again, if they don't hit a seed down, it really isn't going to impact.
It's
the
not gonna
numbers.
impact
Right,
anything. If
but-
they wanna get their feet muddy, and I guess get in the mud,
okay.
but,
But people do line that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, they're in there, yeah,
Right.
very
It's
much
kinda
so.
like
Very
a-
muddy.
very muddy. Yeah.
They get to see it both ways coming in and out, so,
Mm-hmm.
but we do have a solution that's reasonable, and we may actually get reimbursed by the Flying Pig for that. So there's an email still waiting on a
Right.
response
Okay,
on
thanks.
that.
Yeah, Chief.
Joe, it was John Capello?
Yeah.
Capello, so you talked to.
Right.
Yeah, I just had an organizational meeting with the Flying Pig people last week, and we talked about that particular issue, and they are very committed to keeping people off of that. So I think, and they're great people to work with. I've been working with them for years, so, yeah. And John's a real good guy to deal with too, so I don't know how much.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, he was all in about, the barrier and all the rest of the stuff, and I asked him if he could bring in the orange barriers and all that, and he said, nah, I mean, that would probably be overkill. If we get stakes with ropes, we'll keep them out of that area, and it'll be an effective means of doing it, so. And again, we found stakes reasonably priced. String is obviously not very expensive, so
No,
$250,
I think, though,
$300. would be
again, whether we stake it or not, I don't think, the concern is not gonna be as great. If only the trees are in, and you know what I mean? Like, if the seed were down, boy, we'd really wanna keep. them out
Oh,
of there.
yeah.
But the seed's not going until next week.
Yeah, I don't- that's-
We're-
I
we're-
understand
We're
that.
so far behind on
Yeah,
schedule that it's
right.
not going until next week.
So any horizon on when it'll be done? Like a ribbon, are you gonna do a ribbon cutting or something like that?
We've talked about it. I wanted to do it, 31st is what my original plan was, but that's gone out the window. I don't know. Yeah, we'll probably do something.
I think
But,
that'd be neat.
Oh, we're gonna do something, yeah, what the heck?
Band, we get a band.
We just have to get it done first.
Yeah. All right, I need a motion and a second, please, to pay the bills.
So moved.
second,
Second, all right, Mr. Bartlett.
aye,
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we'll pay the bills. All right, I don't think we have any committee reports tonight, but we are going to go ahead and assign a couple of things. We're going to move the building department fees into
Public Works.
Public Works. So you will be working with Bob and, I think Bob's
Bob
already got a
and
schedule,
Rod and-
essentially? Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll be putting that into your committee. And Avia, you wanted,
Yeah,
you want to take out?
well, we're talking about the fence. That should probably wait until I do my report, right?
It could, yes.
Or can we do it now?
The fence being the
The
invisible.
invisible fence?
Oh, the
I was just
invisible fence.
assuming I would have to wait until I do my report for the next
Would-
meeting, and then we can move it then.
Yeah.
I don't think we're in a huge rush.
That way.
I'm sure Randy's not like jumping at the bit to get to it. But I did want to put back into my committee parking on West Street. No parking
Right,
on
yeah,
West
the
Street.
Parking on West Street. Yeah, we
Yes.
got to do something about that parking
Yeah,
over there.
I've had
That's-
numerous complaints
Yes.
since we did what we did, which was limiting the parking to 7 to 9 a.m. in those spots, but it just continues to be a problem. And
I know,
just-
as I said, I drive through there almost every morning, and it's always a minefield to sort of
Somebody's going to
around.
get clocked.
Yeah, so we'll put that back in my committee. I think we can look at it rather quickly.
Big old gallon of yellow paint will take care of that.
Yep. Keep John busy with his paint.
All right, miscellaneous, Beggars Night.
Hey, Bill,
Rob?
did you want to talk about those other two committees
Oh,
now?
yes,
or-
we do. We do want to talk,
Okay.
yes, we do want to talk about the other two. The sort of, the subcommittees.
Yeah,
the way
our
that we're
temporary
gonna- that
committees.
We're going to, temporary, the way we're going to structure that, yeah. You want to go ahead and explain it for us?
Well, you're the mayor, you
I-
kind of have
I'm
to
directing it
make a
for you to do.
committee.
Yes, we're going to create two subcommittees, regarding economic development and regarding. the-
Village Administrator and Strategic Planning,
Right.
right.
I don't have a copy of your report laid out,
No, from the,
yeah, for the two items.
well, because before they'd been, yeah, it was to the Finance Committee and to the Economic Zoning, but I think Kelly had another idea.
I think, well, I mean, what we had talked about was, putting some aspects of it in economic planning development, and then other aspects into finance, and then perhaps I would be a liaison between the two. But I'm wondering if it'd be more efficient for us to create a subcommittee for economic development with Marcy, Randy, and myself,
Yes.
and then another committee for the purposes of the strategic, addressing the village administrator needs or strategic planning with myself, Rob, and Randy. So that was my idea, suggestion.
And that's essentially, all right, as we discussed it the last time. And then essentially, though, the economic development part of it would sort of take the lead, because depending on what happens within that group, you want to sort of dovetail it in.
For the Village Administrator part.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is separate from the strategic planning
Yes.
part.
Yes, yeah. Are we going to call this anything? Or are we going to have a name for this?
What's your ideas? I don't know, can we think about it?
Sure, sure. Other than essentially, we're basically all agreeing here to do it this way, I don't think that we need.
Because I think, Kelly, what we were talking about was trying to find a consultant to help us with the economic development, right?
Right.
And then, I think that's the only, so, because before it was listed as agreement with Ken Geist to work on economic development, but I think it's a broader to say,
Well,
we need to look, he's one of them, he's
part
one
of
of
it.
them.
Yeah, he's part
But
of
there's
it.
other people you guys are, I
Yeah.
think, gonna,
Yeah.
From that regard, yeah. I just think this puts the proper people in the proper place.
Because it kind of started in finance, but it should
Right.
be in economic.
Right.
development. Should be-
Right,
Right.
Marcy should kind of have a lead.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She's
Oh,
definitely got
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I like the fact, I like Kelly's idea that you got Randy and Kelly providing that consistency, because, Randy was also part of the interviewing for the village administrator, so he's seen that aspect of it. I think it's good for him to be on both groups as well, so.
Okay, all right. Marcy, you got thoughts?
I'm fine with it.
You fine with it? All right,
Do
so
we
we all
need
clear
to
up?
vote on it, or
I mean,
just?
that's what I
don't know.
suggested at the last meeting anyway,
Kind
just
of-
making it more formal.
Sort of informal in a way, I mean, I don't know. You want to have a show of hands, we all agree to this?
Yeah.
I mean,
We're good.
yeah. Okay, I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that extensive explanation.
You're welcome.
All right, Beggars Night. I thought of Rob for some reason. That will be,
Nice segue there, Bill.
that will be.
You're not getting any candy at my house, Bill. You go around.
That will be Sunday, October the 31st, and it will occur between 6 PM and 8 PM. And please let us have good weather. I think actually, I do think the forecast, obviously, is going to be good.
It is, which we're more worried about the pig than we're,
It's a long day.
It's a long day.
long day.
It's a
Long day
day.
with nice weather would be,
Yeah.
Rick, are any other communities doing them on Saturday instead of Sunday?
Not that I'm aware of.
I so wish that we would just choose the Saturday before or after Halloween every year and it just be the same, but it's,
Yeah, I mean, I can remember in the past, I mean, it was like, we set the date, and I don't care what was happening. If it could be rain, sleet, or snow, you were like a little postal worker out there if you wanted to go around and get your candy.
sure, so,
So,
yeah.
yeah. All right, as it stands now, that's the date. Leaf season collection will begin October the 21st. That's Monday.
Today.
Yes,
That's
today.
today.
They
Yes.
came by today and.
They came by today, I saw
Yep.
them driving around, and it's gonna run through December the 23rd. I'll be announcing this every couple of weeks. And please, anyone listening out there, we've heard the discussion in here tonight, do not rake the leaves, into the street.
Please tell your-
We'll try and have better coordination, better timing, for pickup, so it doesn't kill your grass and so on and so forth. Or you can always bag them, as John says. Okay, so can we all maybe agree, we want to set that December, we only have one council meeting in the month of December, and normally for Tony's benefit, we try to have that a little later in the month.
Yeah, me and Eli are gonna try to get that done a little earlier this year in November with the new system. We wanna get that done a little bit earlier.
Well, we looked at the Monday before Christmas, but
Yeah.
we kind of thought that might be enough
was gonna
time for
be-
you, but not,
What was that a little late then, or what?
No, that's fine, we can, if we don't get it done then that'll give us plenty of time.
Time to catch up?
Yeah.
So that would be the
20th.
week of,
December the 20th.
it's
It's a
that
Monday.
it's a
20th.
Monday.
It's the third Monday.
okay. All right, so let's agree, December the 20th then, we'll have that final meeting of the year.
So we will not meet on the 13th, which would be the normal.
Correct.
No, there's only just the one meeting, yeah.
My last meeting,
Joe's too, yeah.
It's gonna be all sad.
Joe's too.
All right. Yeah,
Maybe mine too.
yeah, we can wear your Santa hats and make it festive. All right, village offices will be closed December for Thanksgiving. This is December 25th and 26th.
November.
November, yeah, of course, November, yes.
Thanksgiving is the 25th?
Is it?
I think so.
I think it is. Oh. Is it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Better get your turkeys early. I hear there's going to be a little bit of a supply chain issue on turkeys this year.
Tofu will be available.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Sounds delicious. All right, the pool RFP, we've already pretty much covered that. I'm going to have to ask you all to bear with us tonight because, we've got several resolutions and a couple of ordinances, all of which, the bulk of which, are going to go on emergency. We're going to be busy in here.
Ready?
My time-
Hold on, I lost my place. Yeah, it's the tax levy one? Yeah.
To accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and to declare emergency.
All right, you've heard the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third reading, please.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading?
To accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and to declare emergency.
Okay, there any, and this is, any discussion here, any questions? We all understand what this is?
Well, no, can you explain, Tony?
This is just the compliance thing that the county goes through their calculations and says, okay, this is the amount of money that your levies are going to be getting this year, and they send it to us, and then we have to like agree or certify it, and then send this back to them. So it's something we do every year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. I have the third reading.
To accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and to declare an emergency.
All right, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted. All right,
Next
moving on.
one, resolution authorizing the filing of an urban canopy restoration grant application with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to declare emergency.
All right, you've heard the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules?
So moved.
I haven't finished yet, and allow for a second, and third reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading, please?
Yes, resolution authorizing the filing of an urban canopy restoration grant application with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and to declare emergency.
Okay, any discussion? Would you like to, Jason, you want to add anything for this? You want to say anything?
Jason, do you want to say a
You wanna
little
say
bit about
what
it?
we're-
I certainly can.
Sure.
Yeah, this is a grant application with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. It's a very rare grant opportunity. They usually don't have funding to plant trees. And so what we're seeking, it's a 50-50 match for the grant. And so we're looking to use already approved funds in John Scherpenberg's budget to plant trees next year. And we're going to use, goodness, I forget what we're at, like $6,800 cash match. Basically, we'll have $8,000 in match, and we're going to ask for $8,000 from the grant to plant 40 trees. We'll have, a lot of the trees will be along Mariemont Avenue, and then the other part of those trees will be in what we call District 6, so Homewood, Settle, kind of in that area. So it's a great opportunity for us, and probably won't have this opportunity in the future. So
How many trees?
it'll be 40 trees in total.
40
Yeah.
trees? And most of them are going to be oaks? Did I hear that, read that
N-
right?
Well, not necessarily. So we've got, 13 of them will be large oaks, Shumard oaks. Those will be on Mariemont Avenue.
Okay.
And then we'll have, I believe, around 11 are medium-sized trees, and then we have 17 small trees, because in District 6, we got a lot of power lines, we got a lot of small sidewalk areas, so we have to have trees that are less than 20 feet in height.
Yeah.
So we've got a fair amount of those in that area, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
For those of
thanks.
you who don't know, our tree committee has been hard at work assessing these areas and going through a scientific process to evaluate spaces for trees. And we look at a lot of different variables with that. And Barb Whitaker back here has led an effort, and Mary Beth York and Kristen Van Scoy have been out, and Jason have been out working really hard to do that. And then Jason has, basically put together this grant, which is a great opportunity for us to get some help planting
you
some
bet.
trees.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Glad to help. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, may we have the third reading, please?
It's a resolution authorizing the filing of an urban canopy restoration grant application with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and to declare emergency.
All right, motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted.
All right, next one, resolution approving interfund advance of $125,000 from the general fund to the paramedic fund and to declare emergency.
All right, you've had the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third readings?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
May we have a second reading, please?
Yes, resolution approving interfund advance of $125,000 from the general fund to the paramedic fund and to declare emergency.
You want to briefly tell us about that?
Yeah, so with the paramedic fund, that gets funded by real estate taxes that come in April and let's say August or September. And the fund typically pay the paramedics out of that fund the first half of the year, and then we switch it over to the fire department the second half of the year.
Yeah.
We've done that, been doing that for years. It's just easier on Joni administratively. But when we changed the new software and Rich Ford advised us that, we really shouldn't do it that way, that we shouldn't go negative like that. We should get an advance from the general fund. So with the new software, we had to move, $125,000 over to cover that fund. 'Cause
Right.
It was down below, well below zero at that time. So this will eventually get paid back to the general fund once that paramedic fund gets replenished from the real estate taxes. But it's just a thing to cover, so it's not below zero.
Yeah. So this may be the last time we're gonna do it this way?
Yeah, because we're gonna switch how the payroll is, paid out. We can now code, like 50% of payroll to, paramedic and 50% to fire, where before it was just too administratively difficult to do that in
Yeah.
the system. So we may still need to do some in 2022, because we know we don't get that money until April.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Anybody got any questions? I mean, we do this every year. It's pretty standard stuff. Okay. May we have the third reading?
Resolution approving interfund advance of $125,000 from the general fund to the paramedic fund and to declare emergency.
All right, I need a motion and a second, please, to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted.
Resolutions?
On the fire truck.
Oh, yeah, this is the one that was this is the last one, the one that was added late. Yeah.
Oh, I can. All right. Authorizing the sale of the 2003 Seagrave Series Model JB4 ODD fire apparatus and declaring an emergency.
All right, you've heard the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules.
So moved. Sorry, I'm pulling Rob Bartlett and getting ahead of you.
All right, I know it's getting a little late.
No, we're just excited about it.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading, please?
Yes, authorizing the sale of 2003 Seagrave Series Model JB ODD fire apparatus and declaring an emergency.
All right, any discussion on this?
Yeah, I've got one question.
Sure.
Was this even on the agenda that was distributed to the public?
It came out
It went-
late
Yeah,
because there's also an ordinance regarding this, and there was, I guess, a little bit of confusion here, that we needed both a resolution and an ordinance. So,
But again, was it on the agenda?
well, yes,
it
it
was
was
on a revised agenda, right?
revised agenda, yes.
But the revised agenda went out when?
Today.
Did I get a copy of that?
You should
It
have.
should have, it was sent out.
Is that enough time? I mean, Ed's shaking his head, no.
I hate to be the guy that put the kibosh on this deal, but in order, here's what I know, Joe. I think you and I spoke about this last Thursday. We were presented by Park Hills with a pretty favorable price for this fire truck that we haven't used in a couple of years. We want to take advantage of their immediate need for it. I prepared both the resolution, which we need to do, which declares the property no longer necessary for municipal purposes. We sent it over here for some reason, and I also prepared the ordinance, which would allow us to sell this property in a different fashion than typically following the Ohio Revised Code. Perfectly legal, a lot of municipalities do it. But Bill and I talked about this earlier this afternoon. I feel very uncomfortable passing this resolution on an emergency basis tonight because it was not on the agenda, and only because it was not on the agenda. It was just an oversight. I don't know if it's on my part, Bill's part, or whomever, it doesn't really make any difference. But it was an oversight, so I think
Well, let's just say if we passed it without proper notice, couldn't somebody come back and challenge it?
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty dangerous to do it
And I
this way.
think particularly, Joe, because it's being passed on an emergency basis, you know, and again, I talked with Bill about this, I'm sure he's gonna be disappointed with what I'm saying right now, but we gotta do this one right, we really do, because people may give us some pushback on it. The best way to do it, to fix this issue, is if you guys can, have a special meeting of council on Friday, or, what day is it, Thursday. Have a meeting on Thursday, publish a meeting on Thursday for the sole purpose of entering into a resolution to declare this piece of equipment no longer necessary. And then we can still go forward and pass this ordinance tonight.
Still pass the ordinance, yeah.
But, so, I mean, if Park Hills can't wait until Friday or Saturday to do this,
Yeah, but do we run the risk, though, if we wait until the next council meeting,
say it again?
of losing the opportunity?
But again,
We
if
just
we have,
try to
if we,
find some
if we have an
time
emergency
Thursday to get
meeting,
in here.
No, I'm saying I'm totally in agreement with the idea of having a special
call.
meeting of council.
Yeah, and that's probably, that means you guys have to come here one more time this week.
Well, it would only be for just a couple of minutes. Thursday would be the soonest available.
Rick?
Park Hills will be okay if you have a special meeting on Thursday and pass it, and then, they can come and get the truck or whatever on Friday.
No, I'd rather you do it that way, I really would.
I'm asking though, is Thursday the most soonest available? Could it be on Wednesday? What's the time?
What kind of notice?
Yeah, how much, what's the notice? Is it,
24 hours,
24
right? So
hours.
if it went out tomorrow,
we could do it on Wednesday.
Well, it went out today, right?
no, but you gotta send out a notice about this special meeting.
because we're
the-
changing.
About the
yeah.
special meeting, yeah.
So yeah, Wednesday's the earliest you could do.
Yeah, we'll do it whenever
You
you
can do Wednesday, you
want,
can do
I
it
don't
Thursday,
care.
whichever one you wanna do. What's
Does-
people availability?
Does Wednesday work?
Yeah, I can do Wednesday.
Wednesday?
For once, yeah.
So I got an additional question.
It depends Wednesday, because I've got a pruning.
We'd want to do it
Seminar.
earlier in the evening and later, my
This
preference.
notice is one question, but then there's a question about the process that we got to this point. You know, this thing kind of came out of the blue pretty quickly. I mean, we got noticed of it by email a week ago. Okay? And my question is how much of a marketing process do we go through to figure out whether Park Hills has given us the right amount or whether there's other people that might be interested in this thing? What I've been told is that it was basically the informal network that you found Park Hills in the process. And I'm a little concerned about that process and also being told, well, you got to make a decision right away. I almost feel like I'm on a used car lot to some extent here. And so, again, I probably would lean towards doing it, but I'm not happy that, you know, all of a sudden this is being dropped on us with very little time and very little process to identify potential other bidders or purchasers of this equipment.
And you make a good point, Joe, you make a good point. But as I said, to help assuage some of those concerns of yours, like I said, Mike Washington went ahead and prepared comps for us as to what other trucks of that year and vintage would be. And I have those, and I think I shared those with you. And then I went ahead and contacted a broker dealer who deals in used fire equipment. I know I sent you the email.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different, Bill, about publishing an ad and asking for people to come back in, because you don't know who else might be looking at it at this point. I mean, I'm not comfortable with this process. And again, you know, we can make this decision and we can find out later that it was a bad decision. You're putting the council at risk by rushing this thing through. And again, I would probably lean towards doing it, but I'm not comfortable. And again, this truck has been, in one email said, it's been sitting down there for 2 years, being very rarely used. Why suddenly in a week do we have to make this call?
Because Park Hills came forward and the truck seems to me.
But why didn't we start marketing it sometime in the last 2 years if we knew it was excess equipment?
Well, actually, it was talked about. We did talk about basically whether we should keep the truck or not keep the truck.
I thought, just to make, this is when I first saw the email, just the question that came up, and maybe I misunderstood it, but I thought that part of how we build with getting the new one is that we were gonna use, and we were still doing mutual aid, and we were gonna build back, and I thought we were using it when we had the opportunity. I didn't realize it'd been sitting there for 2
I think
years.
it's the ambulance.
That was the
That's
ambulance.
The
Okay.
ambulance, yeah, was gonna be
Okay,
essentially.
so
right.
this is one that's just totally has just been sitting there.
Yeah, more or
Okay.
less, right.
I got them confused.
Because we bought the new ladder truck when you were on council before, right?
Yeah, that was done
2012,
2012.
yeah,
It's almost 9 years ago now.
yeah, yeah. The Seagrave is an '03. I mean, it's been around, yeah.
Again, I'm just not comfortable with the process, and I think it, it exposes us to, a little bit of a problem that we can't say, yeah, there was a rigorous marketing process for this piece of equipment.
Well, we can't, you're right, Joe, we may not be able to say that. However, on the other hand, I'm confident that this offer on this truck is probably the best that we will ever see, based on all the comps, based on what Fire Tech has told me, that if we were to place the truck with them, what we could expect to get for the truck.
Plus the commission it would cost.
Yeah, and plus there'd be a 10% commission on top of it. I mean, it's not, Joe, it's not even half. They wouldn't get us half what we're being offered. I'm just completely comfortable that we're not.
We'll agree to disagree. I just think there should have been a more defined process. Publishing, there's as we were talking about on the RP before, we send that thing out and put it out for 2 to 4 weeks to give everybody a chance to come in and bid on the thing. I just don't see that here. And it may be the right number, maybe the wrong number, I don't know. But you typically let the market determine whether it's the right number or wrong number. And I don't think we've gone to the market.
You do, but in this particular case, I do believe that we have a buyer with special needs. The truck meets their needs, and they have a time element that they would like to, they'd like to come pick the truck up tomorro, but I just don't want to jeopardize.
We'll agree to disagree and just put it
If
at
I
that.
could weigh in on it, second, Joe, I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's not been a perfect process, that is for sure. But the new ordinance that we have, that I basically did the research on this, the law is different if we're going to sell this to another municipality that has a need for this and an urgent need for this. The new ordinance that we're passing today does not change what the Ohio Revised Code says about going out for a public bid if we in fact are going to sell this to anybody and everybody who wants it. But if it's a municipality who contacts us, we're allowed to sell it without a competitive bid process. So I think it's a little different, but it may be a difference without a distinction. I completely appreciate your point, though. This is a type of thing that probably shouldn't come up so quickly like this without you guys having an opportunity to evaluate it. But I think the mayor has done a real yeoman's job in getting together all the comparables, and I know that the firefighters have done a lot of work to get them too, that at least he feels comfortable that we're getting the maximum price we can get for this thing. So it's up to you guys as to how you proceed, really.
Dan, did you want to share a couple thoughts with us?
Yeah, the big thing is taking off the commendations of the report that you guys just spent money to have done. We have some overhead. I came to the board, the offer came to us because they borrowed our truck because they have a historic station. They needed to see how the size of the truck would fit. Just like you did for your ladder truck, Sycamore Township brought their ladder truck down here multiple times and backed it into your station. This is not an undue process. What came out of that was they said, well, what would you guys like for that? I told them I didn't know. Okay? They put in an offer for $100,000 and then they came back one day for $125,000 and it saved them from having to do a bunch of work. I want you guys to do the right thing as well. But I've just been hammered for 8 months talking about budgets and money and spending. And I have a plan to give you back some money into your plan and work ahead as this village and make us back into where we're not having to rob Peter to pay Paul. I've said that to him from day one. Mr. Bartlett will agree. This is one of these options that comes. We have some stuff that this current fire chief and assistant chief agree that I don't know if we really need to be spending on the insurance, the pump testing, everything that we're doing, outfitting that. We're bleeding money on some of these things. This is your guys' choice. If you want me to keep it, I'll park it right back in the fire station.
I'm not saying that, Dan. What I'm saying is I'd like to see I have a fair amount of experience in marketing assets.
Yeah, I do.
Not
Not fire trucks, though, bud. I gave you a ton of,
Okay,
comps.
thanks.
You
have
have
to
to know what you don't know, Joe.
So you're comfortable with this offer?
I think it's over
Chief, we
what
can have
it's
a
worth.
long
That's what
conversation
that was
about
my-
this, but I'm done. Okay?
I mean, I've sat and listened to pools, we've done all that, we've done our comps, we do our homework as well. But for 8 months, this has been going on, and these are some of the decisions that have came from the report that was written. They're coming out there because it came quick.
So did the report. So did us getting raked over the coals.
All right, look, I think we've got a plan here going forward, so let's,
It's your
let's,
guys' choice.
let's agree, we're gonna, we'll do the resolution on Wednesday.
Somebody should move to table this resolution because it wasn't on the agenda. Then you guys should set up a time to come in for a special meeting on Wednesday where this will be the only item on that agenda.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was about to ask what time works for
I didn't
everybody.
get ahead of you.
Yeah. No, that's all right. That's all
I
right.
can move to do that if you'd like.
It's any 6 o'clock on, anytime, I'm good. 5:30, I can make it if I need to.
5:30?
We do
You have mayor's court, right?
Oh, yeah, we got mayor's.
Well, we got a
Court
mayor's
tonight.
court. We got a mayor's court,
Mayor's court starts at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Can you do it earlier? Because it's only gonna take you a few minutes.
Yeah.
I can do things at lunchtime.
You know,
Well, I mean,
you could do
maybe.
part of it by Zoom if you want to. I don't know how to do that.
Well, look,
Do you
look,
know?
why don't we just, look, I mean, one more day, why don't we just say Thursday?
But let's be sure we're not shooting ourselves in the foot by saying Thursday.
Well,
How
I
are you gonna
mean,
do that?
The gun?
well, Rick, I mean, I mean, Park Hills, I mean, they're gonna go, will they go to?
We'll be okay.
Yeah.
You'll be okay? All right.
Okay, so let's say Thursday at 6?
Sure.
Or did you wanna do it earlier, Avi, because
I'd prefer earlier if that
Like
works
what,
for people.
5?
5?
5?
5:30,
Sure.
either
I think we
one.
have MPF at 7, don't we?
Yeah, you do have MPF. We
What time's
have a
MPF?
3 to 4 here, right?
Yeah, we have our meeting here.
Is 4 too early? 4:30?
I don't have a child, I have to leave the kids.
Great.
They get off the
Bring 'em
bus.
along.
I mean,
yeah, we only need 5.
So you can be here when?
I can do 5.
We do 5?
Let's do 5, can we all do 5?
Thursday at 5.
Thursday at 5, okay, so we need
Say
a,
the 28th at 5.
okay, so we need a motion.
Yeah, just to table this resolution is all you need.
Avia did that.
Okay, Avi, did I hear a second, please?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer?
Aye.
And Mr. York?
Aye.
Okay. All right, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that was the last of the resolutions, am I correct? Yes. First ordinance?
Ordinance amending section 151.04 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding fence construction.
That was tabled.
Tabled.
Yeah.
All right.
We do that every time.
I was looking for it earlier. my
Yeah,
goodness.
we're gonna get you one of these days.
Well, it's getting a little late.
Ordinance creating, position of village administrator.
Okay, and I think that was the first reading, correct?
Second reading.
That was the second reading, okay. Any discussion? No discussion? All right. All right, we'll have the third reading next time.
The next one, ordinance amending ordinance O-19-21 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare an emergency.
All right. You've, oh geez, for some reason I lost my place. Oh, no, here it is. All right, you've heard the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for a second and third reading, please.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right. May we have the second reading, please?
Ordinance amending ordinance O-19-21 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare an emergency.
All right, that was the second reading. Any discussion? I think we know what this is.
Garbage stickers.
Stickers?
Stickers.
Mine's back.
Yeah.
We read it, but we didn't
We,
read it all 3 times or vote on it last time.
yeah.
Just formalizing the process.
Correct.
Okay, may we have the third reading?
Ordinance amending ordinance O-19-21 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare an emergency.
All right, and your motion is second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted. All right, the contrasting of the Ohio Public Works.
Okay, an ordinance authorizing application and contracting with the Ohio Public Works Commission and to declare an emergency.
All right, you've heard the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I know it's getting late. We're all getting tired.
I
Yeah,
know, we
yeah.
got a thing
Mr.
going.
Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right. May we have the second reading, please?
An ordinance authorizing application and contracting with the Ohio Public Works Commission and to declare emergency.
All right, any discussion?
Any background on this? I don't,
This is a thing that,
so do we have some specific projects we have in mind for this, or what's
I
the?
don't-
Chris Erdl sent this.
Chris
This is
Erdl sent
for-
it over, and I believe it's just to allow us, should something, put us in a position of being able to contract them, as I understand it. Chris was gonna be here tonight, but I understand he's in Florida.
Training in Columbus, I believe.
Or, yeah, it's
Florida,
Columbus, yeah.
Columbus.
You know,
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
yeah, it says you can
The
contract,
the
Works
warmer part
Commission.
of the state.
it says you can enter into a project agreement and also make applications. And I mean, I'm fine with it. I just didn't know what
think
the,
it's-
I just don't know what the background is on this
Yeah,
thing. It's just,
I believe it's just that simple, to make applications.
I think that email from Chris mentioned that the next project would be Hiawatha.
Oh, yeah, the Hiawatha
I think that's what this was
street
in
work.
regard to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was it. All right, any other discussions? May we have the third reading?
Yes, an ordinance authorizing application and contracting with the Ohio Public Works Commission and to declare emergency.
All right, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted.
So the last one, get tabled.
Well, now, this one, we can do this
Yeah,
one.
you can do this one, it was on the
We can do.
agenda.
We can do the ordinance, just not the
This is to do the
resolution.
ordinance.
You do the ordinance, yeah.
All right, ordinance implementing a policy regarding the sale or lease of municipal property by enacting new chapter 38 of the codified ordinances of the Village of Mariemont and to declare an emergency.
All right, you've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second, and third readings, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
May we have the second reading, please?
Yes, an ordinance implementing a policy regarding the sale or lease of municipal property by enacting new chapter 38 of the codified ordinances of the Village of Mariemont and to declare an emergency.
Okay, any discussion? I think we've already kind of discussed this. Any additional thoughts? We good? All right, may we have the third
right.
reading?
Ordinance implementing a policy regarding the sale or lease of municipal property by enacting new chapter 38 of the codified ordinances of the Village of Mariemont and to declare an emergency.
All right, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted. I believe that was the last one. Am I correct? Huh?
Yes.
Final thoughts?
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like, I would be available Thursday if you'd like to move my portion answering questions about the report into the special session.
Better keep it
Nah.
November
It's
22nd.
just, that's just gonna be a very quick meeting to
Yeah.
do the fire truck thing. And I believe the room is, we're kind of backed up in here on that particular day.
I'll see you on the 22nd.
All right.
Thanks for the offer. All right,
Thanks, Bill.
we're adjourned.
Like a 15-minute meeting.
Oh.
Yeah.